Good evening, YouTube. This is Kayleen Stern coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And this one will be slightly different. I was actually hoping to hold on to the contents of this cash box. I ordered this sometime earlier this year, or maybe late last year. I don't remember where it was, but it was a Minotaur ammo can cash box. It was painted black on the outside. And since I still have not received any of my orders, one was placed way back on August 30, and I still have not received an update on that one. So I decided, since I don't have any complete rations, I'll go ahead and dig into that box. And I decided to go ahead and pull out the food items in there. 2 of the 3 cans are here. I don't want 2 entrees, so I decided to go ahead and pull one of the entrees out. And then the other one I'll just save for another time. Plus, this can took some dings, so I figured it's probably better that I go ahead and open up this one. And this one happens to be the Southwestern style chicken with beans, with, it says rices and black beans, but I think it's just one kind of rice. I don't know why it got pluralized. And it's even in the ingredients. Ingredient says rices, but I think it's just one kind of rice. That's what I'm guessing. So I have my kettle on the stove. This mini survival kit was also in that box, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And then this is that C unit, which is inside of that can as well. There are 2 drink mixes. The cherry I'm saving for another time. And then there are the 2 dessert, which are actually like a shake. This is a vanilla shake dessert beverage, but I'm going to do a little experiment with it. But instead of preparing the entree in the can, I'm going to use this bowl. And this can opener cuts the can from the side, but it does leave a sharp edge on the side, but it does make it a lot easier to get the food out. I figured it'd be the best thing to handle this dented can. So in here is an oxygen absorber. So this will give you an idea of what the contents look like. I'm also going to go ahead and open up the C unit can because there's something I want out of here. I'm just doing that one off camera. There's Mike in the house. There's Booger Butt and Booger Butt here. There we go. I got out of there what I wanted to get out, so I'll toss these other things back in here. What I wanted was this bouillon packet. There's the coffee, the creamer, and the sugar had to come out. It's just typical Taster's Choice instant coffee. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the hot water from the kitchen, and I'll be right back. Now that plate will just keep the heat on. And I'm going to take the kettle back into the kitchen. There's Infos in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Now the rest of the things that are inside of this, see, there's this and that with Matt. I'm going to see who else is in here. Am I missed? James Ortiz is here. The rest of the things that are in here, this is a gel toothpaste. This is an info sheet that comes with the Aqua Tabs water purification tablets, and then there's 2 of these. There's a wet wipe. Two Twinings English breakfast tea bags. It's a Folgers instant coffee. The Biscoff cookies, those will stay out. 2 more coffee creamers. An orange colored Lifesaver, so I don't know what flavor that is. It could be one of several flavors. Bazooka bubblegum. And it's already pretty hard. You would have to let this sit in your mouth for quite some time. There's 2 packets of salt. There's another sugar. I used 2 of the sugars. Dee Bean and Sons matches. So those are what remains in the can. I'm just going to drop all these things back in here. Just a little sugar that missed the mug. Now this micro survival kit that was in that can, I'm also going to open it. Because I want to show you what's in here and that you can reuse these bags if you need to. So I'm cutting it just under the seal. So inside of here is another Taster's Choice coffee, just like what I got in the mug. Let me get the focus. There we go. So more Taster's Choice coffee. A floss pick, Plackers brand. There's a second one. And these have a mint scent. Dear grinding in the house, thanks for dropping in. Ciara's here from Canada. And 10 more Aqua Tabs water purification tablets. And the sheet that goes with it. Although the packet says cube, it's actually these bouillon packets. So the chicken and the beef ones. Two more coffee creamers. An orange razor knife. Another book of matches. This is 4 mini chem lights or light sticks. Here are 3 of them. Looks like each one is a different color. And I don't know if the 4th one just got missed. I'm going to start dropping these things over here off to the side into the can. Nope, there are only 3 of the little light sticks. So at least there are 3 of them, but 3 different colors. There's Robert in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I was just doing a double check on the floor just to make sure I didn't drop one of those light sticks on the floor, but it's not there. Let's see, these little bags, these are just like the mini Mylar bags that you can buy from companies that sell Mylar bags for use for food storage or for packing up seeds for long-term storage. Gusseted bottom. You could put water in these bags, although it wouldn't hold a whole lot, but you could still do it. And these are the perfect size for preserving herbs that you would dehydrate. This is supposed to take about 18 to 20 minutes, but I will check it. In a little bit, just to see if I need to go back into the kitchen to get some more water to add to it, since I took the kettle back. It's a lemonade drink mix. This is a lemonade. Calls for 12 ounces of water. The Minotaur drinks do dissolve so much better than the sugar-based ones that are in the USMREs. Now all of the water has absorbed, but I'm going to give this a mix. The beans will take a bit longer to constitute than the rice. So I'm going to cover that back up. These Biscoff cookies have been seen in rations from other places. And of course, you can buy them in stores. I see them in Hillel groceries. So that is the underside, and then this one it says Lotus on there. But this is what the Biscoff cookies look like. Now this one says dessert, but it's actually vanilla shake dessert beverage. But I'm going to try and experiment with this stuff. Normally you're supposed to add 8 ounces of water to this powder. Of course, you would mix it in a larger container because the powder's pretty much up to here. There's no way you can get, even if you open up the gusset in the bottom, you're not going to get 8 ounces of water in there. But I'm not going to do that. I am going to see if this stuff can be turned into a pudding. So I'm going to dump all the powder into this little bowl. These shakes are hard to mix even with the full amount of water because you really can't get it to mix up all the way. This might actually be a bit too runny for a pudding, but it just might need a little extra mixing. But again, this is just an experiment. Plus, it's a time killer while I wait for the main to reconstitute. Plus, it's something that you can dip the cookies into. Gonna close up my bottle. Put that way back there. I'm gonna put that back there. Actually spilled a little bit, but that's okay. I don't think I put the full recommended amount of water in here, which the can says 18 to 20 ounces. I don't think I did that. But then again, I don't measure. Oh, the rice is fully rehydrated. Yep. I'm going to check a bean. Well, that one seemed like that was all exterior of the bean. Well, the beans seem to pretty much rehydrated. The chicken seems to be in pretty small pieces, so it really didn't take long for it to rehydrate. Oh, there's a bigger piece. But it's more like a pulled chicken, so it's shredded. That was just a larger amount of it that had still remained together, but it's shredded chicken, so it's like pulled. But thanks for dropping in, Robert. Hope to see you another time. Yeah, I just scrolled up a little bit to see if I missed anything in the chat. And of course, yeah, making icing is one thing you can do with these shake mixes. Instead of using the full amount of water, you would just make it like an icing, or maybe like a dipping sauce. You know, that's what some probably do with the different shake mixes that come in Emery's. They probably either turn it into a pudding if they either do not have the full amount of water that they would need to reconstitute it, or they just don't have the time to do that, or they just want to do something a little different with it. Being that this was a Southwest style, it said spices, but it didn't say what kind. But it would have been nice to throw in a little bit of maybe a chili flake or a little hot sauce packet. The other entree can that was in that black ammo can cash box, that one was just chicken and rice with vegetables. And that one has really no seasoning in it, so you would definitely have to be tossing in the salt or a bouillon. Or if you happen to have any other seasonings in there to kind of spice that one up, because I've had that entree before and that one does need a little help. Yeah, he's been here for a few seconds. Yeah, he was saying that in another stream yesterday. And if he would have been in Smokey's stream, had he streamed last night, he probably would have said the same thing. But Smokey has not did not stream last night, so I don't know if he is just dealing with stuff or if he doesn't have internet at home or what. I haven't seen anything from him about what's going on, why he was not able to go live last night. Lemonade tastes like one that you would get in a store, not as sweet as Country Time, and some people don't like an overly sweet lemonade. It might be closer to a Crystal Light lemonade or one of those others that is not heavily sugared. Although this one does have sugar in it, but it's just not excessively sweet. I wouldn't be surprised if the True Lemon was used in it. Since it says natural and artificial flavoring, so I wouldn't put it past Bob to want to use something like the True Lemon, but in a powder form instead of the more crystallized version that you would get in those little packets. Speaking of which, you can buy those in stores, not just online. And you can get the lemonade and the the flavor combinations with the like strawberry lemonade flavor. There's LC in the house. Thanks for dropping in. But you can make your own lemonade by just combining the true lemon with water and a little sugar to your taste, or an artificial sweetener if that's more your speed. Or you can do what I did once, was I experimented with attempting to make a lemon lime soda by taking like a carbonated water and then combining that with true lemon, true lime, and a little bit of sugar, and then mixing that up to very, very loosely resemble either a 7 Up or Sprite or Sierra Mist. Not even close to any of those, but it still worked. I've never done lemonade with brown sugar or even sugar in the raw, the raw sugar. But some would also do it with honey, either in place of sugar, or you would divide that sweetness up in between the sugar and the honey. To Carlos Perry in the house, thanks for dropping in. Hope everything is going good your way, and for your little man, not so little anymore, he's getting bigger. Well, it's good to see you in here. Now, since I didn't have a complete ration, for those that are coming in late, that black ammo can cash box that I got from Minotaur earlier in the year, I decided to pull the cans out. And this one was the more severely dented of the two entree cans. So I decided maybe I better go after this one first. And this one happens to be Southwestern style chicken with rice and black beans. It says rices, why it was pluralized when there's only one kind of rice. So I'll leave that can back out of here in case I want to pull it back over again. But then I opened up the C-Unit can. I have other things in here, so this is pretty much jam-packed, but this was also in there. Instead of bouillon cubes, these bouillon packets. These Herbox, and you can buy these in the stores too. You can buy Herbox in the stores. There's a chicken one and a beef one that was in here. Then I also opened up this micro survival kit, which is in there. Again, this had bouillon cube, but it was the packet. And there's supposed to be 4 mini glow sticks. There are only 3, but I'm pretty sure that was just a slight slip of the packer who was throwing everything into the can before it was sealed. Maybe one of them missed. But I took one of the beef bouillon packets and put it in here before I put the hot water in. And this is the lemonade drink powder that I chose from the ammo can. And this is the coffee I'm having. So I have 2 more of these Taster's Choice sticks. Then I have the Folgers. And there are 2 of those dessert shake things. the creamsicle one, which I am leaving for another time. And then the vanilla, but instead of mixing it with the full 8 ounces of water, I chose to make it thicker. And I figured maybe I could dip the Biscoff cookies in it. We'll see how that goes. The Biscoff cookies have a cinnamon ginger flavor to them, so they're kind of like the Nilla wafers, but with a little bit more cinnamon. Kind of like a cross between a Nilla wafer and a cinnamon graham cracker. They're the color of the graham crackers. But the texture is kind of like a halfway in between the graham cracker and the Nilla wafer. And it's actually not too bad dipping them in that vanilla sauce. Yeah, they say Lotus on it. And actually, it can't see it there, but some of the sauce kind of dissolves some of the underside of that cookie, but that's okay. I don't care. It's probably a good thing I went ahead and got into this can tonight, because these types of cookies would not last very long, especially in the thin wrapper that they came in. They would not hold up very well in longer term storage. Plus, the can that this came in was pretty dinged up, so I decided I'm going to go for that one. And I think this is the better tasting of the two entrees anyway. Now, that chicken and rice one does lend itself to some serious doctoring up with your own seasonings. You just add your own seasonings to it to make it whatever you want. Not just what is in there. If you pack seasonings for camping, like I keep either small packets or small containers, like the little travel size containers with the screw top lids. Those are perfect for putting seasonings in for camping. I've done that. And clean screw top coin tubes that you have never put coins in, if they're clean inside, those are great seasoning containers. Some people have used, if you can still find them, as long as they're clean, the old 35 millimeter film containers. And then, of course, if you go to an herbal shop, you can get, a store that sells herbal remedies, especially if they sell the items where you can make them yourself and to package them. You can buy those little containers, either little tins, or you can buy the little tins on Amazon. Like, I have that little tin that Mike sent me spice blended. I used that on that first package of deer steaks that I cooked that was given to me by one of my sisters. You know, it was given to them because they know that my mom and I will eat it. My sisters are not one on eating deer meat, but my mom and I like it. And of course, now that my brother is here, he gets to have some of it since he has not been able to hunt. You know, he has not hunted since his accident, and he took a long time to recover from that. And now he came up here. He's going to do some temp work up here. For how long, I don't know, but he's not giving up his Arkansas property. But he wants to be up here for a while. So now he gets to have some of it. And so that'll be one more person who can gotta help my sisters and I make sure that our mom is doing okay. And now that he's got a job that he's going to be starting fairly soon, he will be able to earn an income. And of course, the first thing he's going to do is pay his property taxes for his Arkansas land. But, yeah, the three of us are the only ones in my family who will eat the deer meat. I'm hoping that when my brother does go back down to Arkansas, or if he can get an Iowa hunting license, of course he will have to get something to hunt with, unless he can borrow from somebody. You know, then he might be able to do some hunting, but he also likes to fish. But he keeps my late dad's boat on his property down there. Since none of us can really keep it up here without having to pay for a slip in a marina. And those are not cheap if you want to keep your boat there all the time when you're not using it. Plus you have to have a trailer. So then after my dad died, my mom told my brother to keep the boat on his land, so that's what he does. Yeah, see, James, see, these cans, see, that's one thing that people who get rations with the food in the can, that's what they have the ability to do. You know, you get a French ration that has the little stove kit. You light up a fuel tab or two underneath those cans. You just open it up a little bit to allow for venting, and you can heat up that food right there at your spot. Or you do what the soldiers in the field used to do with the cans, or even, I don't know how they would do it with a retort pouch, unless they just lay it in the summer, they could just lay the retort on the hood of the vehicle or just out on a hot rock. Or I suppose in cooler times, if the engine is running, you just put it on the manifold. And because that gets hot, that would be how someone would heat something up that way. Of course, you have to keep an eye on it while you're doing that. Although I have no idea where in the vehicle a manifold is because that's just not something I know. I just know that's what was done because I've heard that, others talk about that in the past, that that's what they've done. In fact, Sean of the Ration Museum, he has documentation, or he has heard stories himself from soldiers who have done that. Even, the Vietnam era was when the last time our soldiers were issued food in cans before the switch to the retorts got done. And if they had access to an engine that was running, would either put it on somewhere on there on a part of it that's still stable and that gets hot enough, you could heat it that way. If you were not able to either light up some trioxane, which they would have been issued separately from the ration, or any other liquid or solid fuel. But you get a Spanish ration or a French ration or Italian. In some of the other Eastern European rations, like, say, some Russian rations, you get the foil cans. Polish, you might get the foil can or the retort. It just depends on the ration. Ukrainian rations, you might get a can, or you might get retorts. You might get, the Belarus, you might get cans. Either a solid one like this, or more the foil type, like the Russian cheese would come in. And when, some of the rations that Steve 1989 has opened up, like the group rations, he opened up an Israeli group ration. And of course, Sean was sent parts of two or more British group rations called the compo. And a lot of those items are in cans. And of course, Delicious sent that our pole can, which is part of a Polish group ration. It would be the equivalent of our UGR, but maybe for a smaller number of people, like a 5-person. There's Australia had the CR5M, which is a 5-person ration. Steve opened up an Israeli group ration. I don't remember how many people that one was supposed to feed. And Nathan of Nathan's MRE opened up a 5-person Russian ration, but he did not get all of that one, I don't think, because I think either some of the items got damaged or got nipped by customs. And the guy who sent that outdoor tactical, he went to a lot of trouble and expense to send that over. And it takes a long time to get something from there to here. And this was several years ago before all the current mess started. But like I said, having a can gives you the ability to cook in it. And if you're careful, depending on what type of can opener you use, you could even drink out of it. Again, you have to be careful. Or you boil the water, pour it into another container, and you just keep doing that until you have boiled enough water that you need either to fill up your canteens or other bottles or to prepare other food. The first one of these C unit cans I opened up when that was in a box. I still have that can. I just taped the lid to the can. Figured it's clean inside. Who knows when I may need to do something with it. This one here, because it's dented, I'm not going to save it. I figure I don't need that many. Plus, I have my metal coffee cans. If you can do it, LC, drop it. Maybe that might help someone out. Oh, the D-ration. That one I'm not familiar with what a D-ration is. I don't know what that is. Well, that would be something interesting to check out. But after the stream is over, what you might want to do is when it's on replay, drop the link in a comment and it'll stay there. That way, in case if the chat does not save, it'll be saved in a comment below the video once it's on replay. That way, people who come to watch this later can find that and they can check that out. Just had another drink of the lemonade. Oh, that is a great find. Obviously, I'm not going to open up that link because that will probably kill my stream. But there was a guy on the other side of the pond who used to put together reproduction K rations, and he would buy the little label kits, the boxes, or the wrappings. Then what he would do, he would find an item that would be closest to the original in size or style or type to its K-ration counterpart, and then he would put that item inside of those reproduction wrappers. Much like what, this guy that's Smokey has gotten some C-ration repros from. This guy did it with K-ration reproductions. And although he never smoked himself, he would buy what we would call the king-size cigarettes. And if they were still too long for the ration cigarette pack, he would cut them down and stick them inside the pack to make them fit. So for instance, if it was like just a normal, like a Marlboro cigarette or Chesterfield, if it was not a menthol, then he would probably just put any cigarette brand that would be about the same length or one that he could cut down to fit the reproduction ration cigarette pack. And if it was a menthol, then he would do the same thing with a menthol cigarette. And that's the only reason why he would buy the cigarettes, would be to include them when he was filling out these reproduction K-ration packages. And then he would assemble them. And I don't know if he sold them to World War II reenactors or to collectors or what he did, but after he passed, or before he passed, his vision got to be so diminished, he died long before his time. He was also doing model trains, assembling them, but when his vision got to be too diminished, then he just had to do one last video on his channel saying that he would not be able to do any of that anymore because his vision was just going too fast. But then word spread through the Ration community that he had passed, and so I don't know what became of all of those items that he had. I don't know if maybe his relatives gave them out to his friends, you know, who would have been into the same things he was. Of course, he had a pet rabbit, and he would feed the Polish and Lithuanian special biscuits to the rabbit because that rabbit could eat them. They're like a special treat for that rabbit. But he was very, very much into military history. Yeah, that, when you said World War II chocolate, that made me think of him. And he would do the same thing with the chocolates. He would find the closest one that he could come up with to fill out that reproduction chocolate wrapper. They're calling you red because of there's red in the Canadian flag. Is that it? I mean, your hair's not red. I hope I'm not giving away too much info. The only thing I added to this was this beef bouillon. So that adds a little bit of flavor and a little bit of saltiness. And I don't think it needs any more than that as far as the salt goes. But this could use a little bit more spice, but I decided not to bother with going after any of my own, even though I could have. Yeah, I only watched that a few times. I really didn't get much into it. But I did watch it a few times. I do have duct tape, but right now it's just going to stay put where it is. Guess I forgot to mention that ammo can box also has a P38 can opener in it, but I decided not to pull that out because, you know, I'm sure we've all seen those, and some of us might have a few. Nowhere near the extensive collection of them that Smokey has. He's got some very, very vintage P38s and P51s. Now they're great to put on your keys. I keep my Fred on my keys. And that thing has come in handy quite a few times. And not for opening cans. There was a time, probably, I think last year, someone had messed up the latch in the door that I usually go in and out of in this building, where you could not go out even if you pushed hard on the handle unless you really banged it. And because it's a glass door, you know, you don't want to hit it too hard because you don't want to break it, but you want to be able to go out the door. So I figured I'm going to see if I can pop the latch with the spoon end of the Fred, and it worked. So until they got that fixed, when I wanted to go out, I just used the spoon end of that Fred to pop the latch, and I could go out. And then the little can opener blade itself, I used that to pop the tape on the big 300 to 600 count plastic utensil boxes that my Moss gets when someone picks them up from either Sam's Club or Costco and donates them. I just use my Fred to pop the tape on those, and I can get into those boxes. Although I do carry a pocket knife, I keep it in my purse. I don't always keep a knife in my pocket because I'm not always wearing clothes with a pocket. But because I have my keys, I have that Fred, so I use that. But if I do need a blade, then I would go get it. Although I might consider getting me another one of those Spyderco bugs to put on my keys. After all, the blade on there is only about that long. Oh, dang it, James. You're just going to have to get yourself another one. This is just a newer version of a P38, but it's the same shape, same design. P51 is a bit longer and a bit wider. Gives you a little bit more to hold on to. So I have one of these in my get home bag, one of these in my bug out bag. So, of course, I have my Fred on my keys. Now I have two Freds, but the other one is just hanging out in another place. But But this one does not say either Shelby or JW speaker. The older ones would. Now the military issue ones, I think soldiers are still issued these. But these are, you can get big lots of these online. Yeah, this one, I have a Shelby. I don't know what year it is, but it does feel a lot thicker than this one. But even still, I would be happy to have this if I had no other option. Of course, you can also pop the lid off of a paint can. That's another use for these things. See, a can like this, so pops up pretty easy. Well, nothing wrong with beans. They're a good source of protein and fiber. And just like rice, you can do a whole lot with them. It gets a bit of the dark color from the beans because they're black beans. And because I threw a beef bouillon in there, I, well, because I'm constantly, if I move my hand a lot up and down, that will screw at the focus. You know, I'm still getting used to how this Revel works, but at least it does focus. Where is I've been having a much harder time with the old Samsung Galaxy 5 or Galaxy S5. I just couldn't get that one to focus anymore. But at least I can tap the screen and get the focus back. Plus, I think this one is more true to color. When I was sometimes using my LG Phoenix 3, sometimes I didn't like how the color would render with it. So I'd prefer the Samsung, but once I got this Revel, I like how it handles the color so much better. So I will only keep the Samsung as my backup until I get it replaced. And then I will keep that one as backup. Because I like having a backup plan. Plus the battery life on this one is so much better. Maybe in a future camping trip, when I go to pack my food bag, my other entree can that only has maybe a couple of really minor things. What I might do is I might open up that can, transfer the contents to a bag, like a Ziploc bag, and then throw in seasonings and any other additional ingredients I want so that I can have the flavors that I want and still have a quick meal, but just not have to deal with the bulk of the can. But last month when I was camping with some other Iowa YouTubers, I tested out the little pot that came with my new Soto camp stove. It probably holds about this much, probably plus a quarter in volume. It has a plastic lid and kind of the silicone coated butterfly handles, but that pot definitely worked because when we did our potluck, I did some herb seasoned rice in it, and then I used my billy can for then some potatoes. Of course, that billy can was way too big. I need to get a smaller pot, but I don't want the weight of my Stanley pot. So my 10 centimeter billy can would be too small, but Zebra makes 12 and 14 centimeter. That's the diameter of the pot. So I may get one of those two sizes. Thanks for dropping in, CR. Hope you're staying warm up there in your piece of Canada. I have another pot that's probably about equivalent in size to a 14 centimeter billy can, but it doesn't have the bail on it like the billy can does, so that's why I don't take it out much. But I have used it a couple of times at camp for cooking in. I just used a pot grabber to grab onto it when I want to either move it or take it off the fire. That particular one is actually like the inner pot for some kind of either very, very small slow cooker or some kind of a cooker, but it has a vented lid. Now, if you turn it, it will stay on because of the design of the lid and the little tabs that will hold it on if you turn it just a tiny bit. But I have cooked in it. I just would need to drill a couple of holes in it so I could put a wire bail on it if I want to do that. But it's not quite as sturdy as the Zebra billy cans. I think they're gaining more in popularity here in the US and in Canada. They're all over Europe, especially England. A lot of the YouTubers like them there. And that's why I first seen them. And I thought, that would be a great camp pot. So I got the 10 centimeter one. And then I got the 16 centimeter one. Now I want the other two sizes. I use a tent or a hammock. Last month I used my hammock. And I have my underquilt attached to the carabiners that hold my hammock to my tree straps. And then inside the hammock, I have my wool blanket that I just unfolded but left narrow. And then on top of that, I put my sleeping pad. And that kept it from sliding around because the hammock fabric is pretty slick. And my sleeping pad is kind of slick. So that blanket not only increased the insulation, keeping me a little bit warmer, but it kept my sleeping pad from sliding around so much because I do shift positions when I sleep. And it makes it a lot easier when you're getting in and out of the hammock, say if you have to get up in the middle of the night to go pee. That sleeping pad is not just popping out and completely leaving the hammock. And then I have a tarp over my hammock, and then I use my sleeping bag as a top quilt. I unzipped it all the way and then just used it like a thick blanket on top of me instead of trying to get in it. And then at my feet, I stuffed my coat into the hammock at the end of my sleeping bag and, the foot end of my sleeping pad. So that basically acted like a foot box that you would find in a top quilt that you would normally use in a hammock. I don't own one of those, but I may actually get one of those in the near future. That way I can have that enclosed foot, but still have the rest of it open and still use it like a blanket. And I have a small memory foam pillow that I take. That's the only camp pillow that I have. I have thought about getting one of those inflatable pillows, but I just haven't done it yet. I don't know, I just like to feel that memory foam. Yeah, it can be a nuisance. But when you're sleeping outside, either whether it's in a tent or a hammock, if you don't have an artificial heat source like a little wood stove or a mister heater, you know, the little hand warmers did work. You want something hot to drink before you go to bed. So I would either do a cup of tea or a cocoa mix. So I drank that, and I shortly before I would get in my hammock, I would open up a pair of hand warmers, shake them, and just threw them in there. And then I also used my UST reusable warmers. They don't last as long, but surprisingly, keeping them enclosed, like say I would put it in a shirt pocket because I wore a flannel shirt that has pockets, so I would stick it in my shirt pocket. That way, that actually kept in the heat longer than it otherwise would, because normally those things may not last more than a couple hours. But in the morning, or say if I get up, uh, say if I went to bed like 10 o'clock, say like 5 o'clock, I get up to go pee, that thing still had some heat. So I have two of those things. I used one of them Friday night and then the other one Saturday night, in addition to the other regular hand warmers. And those just pretty much were enough, plus the layers, because I was wearing my thermals underneath my clothes. I also put on a fresh pair of socks before I got in my hammock too. And then I hung the socks I took off on my ridge line so that they could air out before I packed them away. But where we were at, it was so handy to have an outhouse, even if it was roofless. The way they had it set up was really nice, except for the container hand wipes that was left out there froze. So I always kept my pack in my cargo pocket of my pants. But then when I got in my hammock, I would throw them underneath my coat. I kept them in a Ziploc bag along with my hand sanitizer, and that kept them from freezing. And then when I got up to go, I put my coat on. I throw those in my cargo pocket and my pants, and I just kept them in there all day. That way they would not freeze up. Plus, it kept them from drying out too. probably means when we here in the US we would use metric or in England you get a mix of both. And I think you get some of that in Canada too. It just might depend on what you're dealing with as far as your what you're measuring. But when you're in the medical field, everything is metric. You know, temperature is measured in Celsius. When you're emptying a bag attached to a patient that is collecting a liquid, and you're going to document how much was in it, that's measured in it can be measured in milliliters or yeah, most often milliliters. And any solid material is what is measured in grams. And weights are measured in kilograms. Height is measured in meters, centimeters. Yeah, that's all done in the medical field. You know, when I had to document measurements, that's, you know, when I was doing home care, that's what I did. I did it as, you know, with the metric. And anytime I wrote the time down, I did it on the 24-hour format. Say, like right now, it would be 20:55 Central Time instead of saying 8:55. Of course, the only thing I didn't document was mileage because I don't drive. And the company that I work for, they wanted me to log mileage, but I couldn't. How could I? I ride the bus and I walk. I'm not nipping odometer readings off of buses. Plus, I don't own a pedometer. And plus, the timesheets only had space for one pair of odometer numbers, not two, because sometimes I would ride two buses to get from one location to another. Yeah, so it'd be like 1858 there. When you're stating that in the 24-hour military time format. Sometimes when I'm talking about measurements, say if I'm going to review something, Or I might get a container. I might read a label and I'll say what it is in both the U.S. format. I don't like to call that imperial because there is none. But I'll just call it U.S. and metric. I don't want to even call that standard because it's only our standard, not world standard. But say when I've done some of my grocery hauls, I might look at a can and say it has 15 ounces or so many grams or whatever it is. And there are other channels that do that. Will give both versions. You know, there's a channel I watch called the Outdoor Gear Review, and when he's talking about weather conditions, he may say it in standard, like say it's 45 degrees Fahrenheit. He will flash the Celsius equivalent on this. He'll put that on the screen, and when he's saying wind speed, he might say miles per hour, but then on screen you'll be able to see the equivalent in kilometers per hour. And some others may say they're describing, say, a particular knife blade. They might say the length in inches and millimeters. So it is good that people do that because, we do have global audiences. I may not always do that. Say when I'm mixing a drink, I don't have it in my head what 12 ounces is in milliliters. I don't have that particular conversion in my head. I do know that a cup is about 250 some milliliters, give or take a milliliter or 3. I have a measuring cup that came with my stick blender, and I use that to measure out the water for my coffee maker. After I figure out how much water I need to fill my mug that I drink out of all the time. So that mug has measurements for 2 cups and 500 milliliters, which is a little bit more than 2 cups. And if I go just what would be the equivalent of 550 milliliters, that's how much water I use, because I figured out that's how much that mug holds. I'm going to put this bowl back there because I'm done with it. Now this stuff has sat here quite a while. It never really thickened up. This is what was originally supposed to be vanilla shake. but I didn't put the full 1 cup of water in there. Maybe 2 ounces, can give or take a milliliter or three. By the way, this is my Tupperware tray that I have had since 1983. I haven't used it in a while. I've been doing rations that have a lot more components, and the mains would be a smaller amount of food. And you saw how high the food was in this bowl. It it was up to the fat green line. So that's probably a 400 milliliter capacity. I would have to measure it, but it would hold more than this drinking jar. But for those that have never seen this tray before, they haven't gone pretty far back in my stack of ration videos. In 1983, my class, I was a junior at the time, was having a fundraiser to raise money so that we could build up enough to fund our senior trip, which we did in 1984. So we had a Tupperware party. And I took some of my SSI that I have been paid since I was a little kid. At that time, my parents were what you would call my payee. So they would dip into the account to pay for expenses related to me specifically. But then they would give me some cash out of it. So I took some of that money and I bought some Tupperware items for my mom because there were some pieces that she was actually wanting to get that she couldn't find, but I decided I'm going to get these for her. So I did. But then I saw these trays and I decided I was going to buy one of these trays. So I was contributing to my own fundraiser, so to speak, at least for our class. And I had only used it 3 to 4 times in the years I've had it until I started doing ration reviews. And then after I won that first MRE from Sticky Fingers 749, I think back in, December of 2017 or January, February, or December of 2016, I moved into this apartment before I won that ration from him. So I moved in here on October 31st of 2016. So I either won it in December or January or February of 2017. And I decided that I'm going to go ahead and do a review just like the others that I've been watching, because I've been watching some other Russian reviewers. And I thought, I got a tray. I don't need to buy one. So I pulled out this spoon or this tray, and until I got this spork, I was using the spoon that came with the ration. But I kept every one of those spoons. I never threw a single one of them away. If I used it, I washed it, and then I put it in a bag to store for emergency use, because I figured, these are solid. I mean, some of them are better quality than others, but still, hey, that's one less item I have to think about in an emergency situation where I would have to seriously cut back on water use, and I would have to start using my disposable stuff. Actually, this stuff tastes more like a melted vanilla ice cream when it's this thick. You can really get the vanilla flavor when you do it like this. So it would be even more concentrated had I used maybe a third of the water that's in here, because I maybe dropped a couple ounces in here. I wasn't sure how it would mix or if it would thicken up over time as it sat. But anyway, I've kept all of those spoons. And other utensils that I've picked up. So those have become part of my emergency stash. But yeah, I did reviews exclusively on this tray until I got the green one. So now I switch back and forth. If a ration has a huge main, then I would use this one. Or if a ration didn't have very many components, then I would use this one. But otherwise, I use the green one. So I just haven't brought out this whole thing in quite some time. And once in a while, you'll see these trays in thrift stores or on eBay. I think Tupperware still makes them. It kind of has that buttercream look to it when you're looking at it with the naked eye. Of course, on camera, it may look closer to more of an off-white. And you can see the difference in color between this and the tray. Looks more apparent on camera than it does, I suppose. I know on camera it looks more white because of the white light that's above me to my right. The light to my left is more of a yellowish. You call it a warm tone. I used to have a warm tone white light up in the ceiling fan, but that one went out. So when I replaced that one, that ended up being what you would call a cool white. So that's why everything looks the way it does. Now the light to the left is just to cut down any shadow. I don't have it as bright as I could. course, if I turned up the brightness, in fact, I'll do it right now. See, that's full brightness. See, that creates shadow on the right side. So if I turn it back down, that's actually a little bit lower. There we go. So that's about the setting that I try to aim for. So the only shadow that you're really seeing would be from my phone mount. Of course, here is the cord that goes from my phone to the power bank. And of course that's part of the phone mount right there. So that's what I do to try to eliminate some of the shadow. Ooh, my chat went way up. Oh, Storms, Radio, and Cats. This is lemonade drink mix. And yes, this is a ball drinking jar. It's not a canning jar. But it is a vintage drinking jar. Shadow Scout Swede is in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Sorry, my chat just went up. I don't know why I did that. I wasn't seeing any new comments. But I have pretty much killed all the food. This is a Minotaur Trading Company drink mix that came in the black ammo can stash box that I got either late last year or early this year. I've been sitting on it. The only thing I had taken out of it at that time was the full-length toothbrush. I was in there. I was going to substitute it with a travel toothbrush that takes up a lot less space. I just hadn't done it yet. So it had this can, one other entree can. So I have just since moved that off to another location, and I'm going to turn that black ammo can into either a storage container for some other items, or I'll turn it into a survival kit of some sort, or I just might use it to, I could use it to store some medicines in, because it does have the seal on it. I could store some fishing tackle in there that won't fit in any of my tackle boxes, especially my small fishing kits. Well, I have my Daisy BB Plinker ammo in another one. So I have another ammo can for that. Then I have one that has all of my solid fuel tabs and matches and all of the little flat foldable stoves that came out of rations. I have all those in my 50 cal ammo can. that does a very good job of containing the smell of those fuel tabs because some of them can stink. Fortunately, I don't have any trioxane because apparently that stuff really reeks. Worse than the hexamine solid fuel. That trioxane is military solid fuel, but the ammo can does a great job at containing the smell of those fuel tabs. So anytime I get any from a ration, say I ordered a French RCIR from Emery Mountain. When that does come in, I have no idea when because you never know with shipping from another country. But if customs doesn't nip the entire stove kit, those fuel tabs will just go into that ammo can along with the matches and that foldable stove plate. I call it a plate because when it's flat and then you fold it up. But I will stick those into that ammo can. That way I have those for emergency use. I have a Mylar bag with one of those foldable stoves and solid fuel in my get home bag. And my Esbit stove is in my bug out bag. And I got fuel tabs for it in there. But that's wrapped up so that contains the smell. That's in a different pocket from where my food bag is. So that's what I use ammo cans for. But Survival Lily took an ammo can and turned it into a mini Faraday cage. And there are people who have done it themselves, or you can buy pre-made versions of ammo cans turned into mini wood stoves. Now you would have to either come up with a little bit of stovepipe or just use it out in the open. But that is another thing that people have done with the ammo cans, especially the larger ones, is you turn it into a mini wood stove with some cut and there, additions here. It helps to have the tools to do that, and of course a space, which I have neither. But they're very handy things to have, very versatile containers. And even the plastic ones, those you don't have to worry about rusting, and you could bury those. Or as you bury a metal one, you would want to encase it inside some plastic wrapping of some kind, or a container like a bucket, in order to prevent it from eventually rusting out. So if I wanted to bury one, I would get a bucket that I could fit it in and then bury that. That would be the way I would do that. Of course, I would put additional things in the bucket that would either not fit in the ammo can or would not need the protection that an ammo can would afford. But you can find those at military surplus stores, online sites, or sometimes you might find them at flea markets or yard sales, estate sales. I don't know if pawn shops would have them unless they were filled with something, and that the pawn shop management would just keep the stuff with the ammo can as it is if they don't divide up everything. I don't know. Never been in a pawn shop, so I wouldn't have any idea about that. But you can find them that are bigger than the 50 cal size, all the way up to ones that are almost as big as a jerry can for gas. Those would be for your freedom seeds on steroids. And when fully loaded, those would take 2 people to carry. Unless you have a cart of some kind to put it on. They, even ones this size, they're still very handy to have. And Minotaur does have a few kits on their site. I think one is peanut blue, one is black, and then I think they have one painted white. It's for their cosplay themed items, so you could go on the Minotaur site and look at those, but they are in painted ammo cans. See, I think Jack of Trades has reviewed one of those, and I think 1 or 2 other guys have reviewed a couple of those particular kits. Yeah, if you want to Oh, was there a spammer in here? I don't see I don't see anything in the back chat. I'm scrolling back. Yeah, because of that seal, you can keep your spices in there. You know, if you're keeping camping gear in a vehicle all the time and you want to protect some stuff from moisture, oh, that's, yeah, if you reported it, see, you have to be a mod in order to boot someone or put someone in timeout. But anyone can report one of these scammers. Yeah, you can block or report, and that blocks, I think it blocks from your channel. I don't know if it blocks necessarily from my channel, but it could block from streams. I don't know. But I have, let's see, I have some mods, but there, I just modified. But it doesn't hurt to have a few more, so there we go. I just took care of that. Oh, sorry, LC. I didn't remove your comment. I just did a little modification, if you get my meaning. Yeah, a couple of my mods had to hit the road. Yeah, so now I have more backup plans in case some of the other mods either have to bug out early or can't come in at all. Yeah, see, exactly. The seal on the ammo can will keep your spices or your sugars, your coffee or tea or whatever you put in there. It'll keep that dry. And if you throw a moisture absorber in there, that will make it even better. You know, you hear people of putting the large moisture absorbers in pantries or shooter safes or just safes in general if they have stuff in there that is moisture sensitive. Oh, it's stupid autocorrect. That's why I disabled the autocorrect, because it will flag my own name. It will flag my city. And it obviously hates it when I'm putting stuff in a language other than English. Yeah, you can. I recently bought some off Amazon, but you can find them on eBay. You can also find them from sites that sell items for food preservation. Say, you get the Mylar bags with the oxygen absorbers. Of course, you don't want to put an oxygen absorber in with any sugar or any salt because then it'll become rock hard. But when I pack sugar or salt for long-term storage, I throw a moisture absorber in there. And then when I go to seal up a bucket after I've filled it, even though I have stuff in bags, I will throw a moisture absorber or two in there. So that I can cut down on those. Plus, I have a video on making them out of rice and number 2 coffee filters. I took several of those to my mosque and I put them in containers with salt or sugar, but some people didn't understand what they were, and they would throw them away before I would get to explain what I did. But I do have a video about making them. I just haven't made any more because sometimes you just want a tiny one. Like sometimes you'll get a medicine or a supplement that has a little tiny moisture absorber in it. I don't throw those away. I keep all those. I get a bag or a pair of shoes that are new. I've saved that moisture absorber. Yeah, I agree with that, and I think you're being nice. Now, if you're dealing with a language that is more strict in its rules than English, because, you know, English is just all messed up. Because it absorbs so much from other languages. I do not have any merch, although I have made a whole bunch of strings of ranger beads. At one time I was selling them as a fundraiser for a family of an Iowa YouTuber who died several years ago. And I got $68 off of the sales of those ranger beads. And then just to make an even 70, I kicked in 2 of my own money. And then I gave that to the widow when we met up at the first Country Prepper Memorial Camp. But I just kept making them. I'll get different kinds of beads, different colored shoestrings. I would recycle shoestrings. When I replaced my bootlaces with some newer ones, I didn't throw away the old ones. I simply cut them up and I put beads on them. Same with shoestrings when I upgrade my shoes and I get rid of a pair of shoes that are kaput or the shoelaces don't stay tight at all. I don't throw them away. I cut them in half. I tie a knot in one end, and if it's not a cotton shoestring, I can burn the end to keep it from fraying, just like you would the end of paracord. And I would put beads on it in the style of ranger beads. And there's always a loop of some kind on the end that's above the portion that just has the 5 beads. So I still have a bunch of those that either did not sell or I have just added to since, and I just keep accumulating them. Yep, but I'm all done with the food. I'm just down to my lemonade and a little bit of coffee left. But my main was this. Get the focus. Yeah, this can was pretty dinged up, so I decided I'm going to just go ahead and open this one. And I threw a beef bouillon packet in. So my drink options were either from this particular, I guess you could call it a ration since there's food in there. It was either the cherry drink or the lemonade, so I chose the lemonade. And then the desserts were actually shakes. So there's either vanilla shake or the orange dreamsicle. I chose the vanilla, but instead of making it full strength, I threw in a couple ounces of water. My intent was to make it thick like a pudding, but it ended up being more like a dipping sauce for the 2 Biscoff cookies. So that orange dreamsicle mix will be saved for another time. And then the other entree is just chicken and rice with vegetables and not seasoned. So that one would require a little more doctoring up. Plus the can that it comes in only has a couple of tiny dents in it. Whereas this one, as you can see, it got pretty beat up. But I had no trouble with this can opener because it cuts it from the side. So you put it on the can like this instead of like this. So it leaves a sharp edge at the top of the can. Oh, if I could come up with my own ration, it would probably contain a halal meat of some kind, but maybe with a twist like maybe an Asian fusion, or something on the lines of, say, like a chicken or beef biryani. And the British ORPs have done a korma, which is an Indian style dish. But I would probably, because I also enjoy Asian food and Latin food, or maybe a halal kielbasa, or maybe a beef cabbage roll. Or that would take some doing. A hachi, you mean like with hach chiles? Oh, I don't know hashe or hashai. I'm not sure where that comes from. But since I've also had some African dishes, I would probably want some of that influence. But I would love to see basmati rice. And not just plain, maybe with a little bit of garam masala in it. Ooh, that sounds pretty good. I wonder how close to bigos it is. Bigos is Polish. I don't know enough about it because I do not remember having it as a kid. And usually bigos contains pork. So I would have to come up with a beef version or a chicken version. But I would love to see bigos in a single person ration. Wow, that sounds actually pretty good. Yeah, with a nice hearty bread. See, for a bread in a ration, a nice piece of naan or a pita would be good. That'd be like an alternative to naan. Halal chicken mole would be killer. But because mole is such an ingredient intensive sauce to make, it can Some moles can have over 20 different ingredients. Yeah, if the chat is still up and replay after this stream goes to video replay, you would be able to hit on that link and check that out. And of course, after this goes to replay, you'll be able to drop comments. And then that way, if the chat does get dropped later on, I don't know how long chat replays stay after a stream goes to replay mode. I don't know how long a chat stays, but dropping a comment under it will definitely make it stay. Oh, there is for an MRE. Art Nina dropping that super chat, saying hi to everyone. Hope everything is going well down there in Texas. You can still get these on the site, foreignemery.com. You can get these there. And if you request a t-shirt, if they still have any available, make sure to specify your size. I keep forgetting to ask if you have gotten into the new digs yet, or if that is still a work in progress on getting into the new location. I couldn't tell from the last video where Nina opened up something, because all I could see was the surface of the table that she laid the items out on. So, oh, good. So I hope the new digs are working out, because I hadn't seen any updates on whether or not it had been opened up where you can get everything in and just start enjoying the new place. But I'm glad you're in there, and hope everything works out there and get stuff going in there. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I did watch the one about the water main repair. That looked like it was a messy job for the crew that did that. But yeah, I'll check that out later. But I'm glad you're in there and enjoying the new digs, and should be a whole lot better in the long run. By the way, I've been plugging the corned beef hash emery that has been on the site, suggesting people go get it if they're interested in trying that one. I've had it twice, and it has been excellent both times. I'm keeping my discipline and not getting another one because I want someone else to have a chance at it. Yeah, I wish that menu would come back. because that would be such a big hit. For the soldier in the field to have something like that. I'm waiting on a couple of the new menus, Emery menus, to come in that are in the, I think the 2020 lineup or 21. I think they're 21s. I'd have to look at that listing again. But the cheese pizza and it's not the Asian beef strips or the barbecue beef strips, but savory beef strips. That is a new one to me. I had the cheese pizza, but done in a ration that all MREs made. And instead of putting two pieces of the cheese pizza in there, they put a cheese one and a pepperoni in there. Someone made an oops. So I gave that pepperoni pizza slice to Aletha because her son likes them. And then they sent me two more of the cheese pizza slices. But to have it in a legit USMRE, I'm looking forward to getting into that one. CT had one. But now I want it. Yeah, see, Art agrees on that corned beef hash, Amory. If you can get a hold of that one, I highly recommend it. So I am hoping that next Sunday I will have a ration to dig into. I know it'll be a while for that French RCIR, and I hope Customs doesn't rate it like they did the last time I ordered one. And I believe it's the same menu that I ordered again. I just ordered the same one again because it's the one that said I couldn't tell when I looked at the green stamp if it actually said halal or just without pork or sans pork. But either way, that it's the kebab meatballs. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't hit that box I got from Delicious. They would have left the Arpo can alone since it's vegetarian. But the lamb tashanka and the beef jerky, they would have had a field day with that one. But Customs left that box alone. So whatever he did to keep Customs off the scent, I'm very happy with. I'm glad I got to taste both of those. The cans are dented up, but they're not compromised. Oh, that's crazy. I mean, something isn't a can. And when they rated that RCIR, the last one I ordered, they even took the spork out of the stove kit box because that was not in there. And it was not loose in the box either. Yeah, I mean, what is a problem with a baby spork that unfolded is only that long? I don't know. Maybe it depends on the how it's labeled. I still have the customs label that was put on that box from Delicious, and I think it said something like memorabilia or something like that. So it would drop a hint that it was something other than food. I don't know, but anyway, whatever he did, it worked. And the last Polish ration that I ordered off of eBay, it was an incorrect ration, but nothing was taken from the box. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Yeah, considering the spork was missing out of that RCIR, there are 3 cans with meat in them that they took, so they probably needed an extra utensil. Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to get rations here unless someone literally drives them across the border. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Last time I tried to buy a German ration, it wouldn't even accept my PayPal balance. It said another payment method is required, so I couldn't buy a German ration. And I tried to buy a Dutch one. Same thing, so I had to tell the seller that for some reason I cannot pay for the item. I just would not accept PayPal balance, or, you know, I could have 200 times the amount needed to cover the cost of the item plus shipping. But if that payment is not accepted for some other reason, then you just can't do it. I don't know if they're not allowed to sell to the U.S. or what. I don't know what the deal with that was. Yeah, Infos, I think you're right about that because there are so many ways that stuff can be snuck across the border. But if you're trying to get something from on the other side of the pond, it would have to be brought into Canada or Mexico. And from what I understand, Canadian customs is even getting crazy. I think B Temple had a ration rated. Or maybe it was another Canadian, but I know one of the Canadian reviewers had a ration rated by Canadian customs. And I'm pretty sure, Elsie, if you get one and in very good condition. I think Smokey had a pork chow mein, and I think his is pretty good. Yeah, I think another one wrote craft supplies. Yeah, see, like, or like memorabilia, sports memorabilia. If you write sports memorabilia on it, I don't think they'll screw with that. In fact, an Australian one, a giveaway I did, I wrote craft supplies on the outside of the package when I did the customs thing. I included some Iowa fatwood, and you have and if you send fatwood to someone in Australia because they can't get it there because they don't have any pine trees, you have to make sure there is no bark on it at all because otherwise it will get confiscated and burned. Whereas if you send a piece of fatwood and label it as craft supplies, they won't mess with it. Oh yeah. Let's see, I think G. Schultz opened up some frozen MREs. I think he had several of them. And I think he reviewed most of them that he had that were frozen. They were frozen for over 10 years. Oh, that's one thing that you got going for you. At the last package that I got from CT, Customs did not mess with that, so I don't know if there's something where a package shipped from Canada, but then again, he didn't ship it until he actually got inside the U.S. because it costs a whole lot less to go to a U.S. post office, ship the package from there instead of shipping it from Canada because it would cost an arm and a leg to ship something down here from up there. But because he's going back and forth in the US and Canada, when he wants to send something to someone, he just waits till he gets down here to the US and then ships it. That way, there is no issue with customs. Yeah, but if it's, you know, if it's one that you're legal to own in your own country, say, I got a package from someone in Australia, and it had a small A neck knife, there was no issue with that. That made it without any problem. That never got taken because it was below the limit for Australian rules. So that's why there was no issue with that. And I included a small knife in my last giveaway prize that I sent to Australia, and I made sure that it was a small one, that it would meet the laws there. And it was even smaller than the one that was sent to me. And cold, the only cold spot in California is supposed to be the far northeast corner of the state. Not in LA. It's supposed to be warm there. There. How's that for cold? See, see, you're not cold. You're just chilly. That's supposed to be in the 40s, by about 43, 44 Fahrenheit here tomorrow. Yep. No can do here unless you go to a place where they make snow. But we have places here in Iowa that do what you call beginner downhill skiing and snowboarding. And they have the equipment to make snow. And then our outdoor ice skating rink is now open. And so they have the means to chill. To, if it's like in the 40s, it has a way to keep that skating surface frozen. That's pretty chilly. Yeah, That's pretty chilly. But it's still warm enough in my apartment where I still got all my fans running. I haven't resorted to turning the AC back on. But my room temp is 71 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's probably close to 22 Celsius, give or take a half a degree. It's almost too warm for heavier weight pajamas, but I'm not throwing the extra blanket on top of me. I just keep it kind of rolled up at the end of the bed. Yeah, it's well, I've been on here over 3 hours, just flapping my jaws. Yeah, I like my humidity in here below. If I can have it below 50%, I'm actually happy even in the winter. So right now my humidity is below 40%. Of course, it gets jacked up, say when I boil water or take a shower, but after time it goes back down. And so when I had my kettle going on the stove, the humidity probably got jacked up to about 50%, but then once I shut it off, it obviously went back down because I ran my vent hood that's over my stove. But yeah, I'll run that thing even if I'm just boiling water. Although it hasn't happened to me since I got my smoke detector changed out a few years ago, but when I first moved in here, that thing will go off even if I'm just boiling water. And at the other place I used to live, I had to disable the smoke detector that was right outside the bathroom door because I'd take a shower and now I'd set off the smoke detector. That's nowhere near boiling. Of course, being that I don't share my space with anyone, I don't close my bathroom door when I take a shower because otherwise the bathroom would just get so steamed up and those vent fans just can't handle it. So that's why I leave the bathroom door open so all of that humidity can escape faster, even with using that vent fan, which I don't think does squat anyway, at least not the ones that I've had to deal with. Over the last probably 30 some years since I've moved out of my first apartment But since I've had that smoke detector replaced here a few years ago, it was supposed to be hardwired, but it never was. And it was just burning through batteries. And sometimes, a couple of times, that thing went off when I wasn't doing anything in the kitchen. I wasn't boiling water, wasn't taking a shower. It would just go off on its own without any good reason. So then it got replaced, but it never got hardwired, but it was burning through batteries. So the last time I had it checked, the guy said, you know, I thought it was hardwired, but no, I was not told that it wasn't, because I couldn't pull the thing completely down because there was a wire connecting it to something. So I couldn't pull it down to change out the battery or to even see what kind of battery it took. But then when a maintenance guy came in, said, that thing's not even hardwired. So he hardwired it. So now I should not have to replace a battery for probably several years because it's running off of building power. And I can tell it is because at night when I have no lights on, I can see a green light. But yeah, some smoke detectors may misread water vapor as actual smoke because it's coming across the sensor. But the one in the bedroom is not hardwired, and so I can change the battery. I can take it completely down, change the battery, and put up a new one. You put a new battery in it and then stick it back up. And then to my left, I have a carbon monoxide detector. And I choose to keep it running even though I don't have any gas appliances. Yeah, some are all in one, but because my smoke detectors are not carbon monoxide detectors, I chose to get one, and that one was actually on sale. And it takes a AA battery. Well, because I don't have a fuel burning source in here that I'm constantly using. I really, I've never thought about having a carbon monoxide detector, but when I did get one, this was before I bought my Mr. Heater. I got a fire extinguisher even though there's one right outside my apartment door, but I'd rather have my own instead of taking that one from the building and not having an option for someone else to use. course, when I had in 2020 when August tornado smacked Iowa and shredded a good chunk of the state, I used my pocket stove, but I had my slider open because I needed the air circulation anyway. This was before I got Pumpkin the screen climber. Mila was too old to climb screens already by that time. She wasn't getting up on top of high places anymore. You know, she was 16. So she was already a pretty old cat. But I was very close to the slider anyway, mainly because, you know, I wanted to have light, ambient light, so I didn't have any of my battery powered lanterns on yet. But I only used that pocket stove to heat up enough water for coffee. And then the rest of the time I ate a ration that didn't have to be heated because it was a Minotaur breakfast MRE. And I just heated up the water for coffee on that little pocket stove. And then when I did cook a meal, I cooked some meat and some I said cut up deer stew meat. I used my my homemade alcohol stove and my wok on my deck. And that thing I can put 4 ounces, you know, basically half a cup of isopropyl alcohol in that thing. And so I cooked the deer meat, and then I opened up a can of sliced carrots, drained them, and then cooked those. Just, I mean, they're already cooked. I just heated them up. And so that took all of that 4 ounces of alcohol that I had in my homemade alcohol stove. So I did that on my deck. I figured that would be more discreet than, plus I didn't want to get into my little supply of sticks that I had bagged up, you know, using my twig stove. I wanted to be more discreet, so that's why I chose to use the alcohol stove out there. Plus, because it's a little bit bigger, it could support, although I mean, I still held on to the pot handle. You know, there's a little bit more underneath the bottom of my wok than my little pocket stove. Of course, that thing died, I think, in March. I tried to use it. I turned it on, but I couldn't turn the thing back off, so I basically just had to burn out the gas in that can. So then I bought a new Soto stove that came with a little pot. Yeah, probably. I'm probably going to go ahead and call this one Anyway, since I've been on here almost 3.5 hours, but my Mr. Heater, it's not the really tiny one that just looks like a big blower on top of a 1 pound propane bottle. It's one of those that you put the bottle in the side, and it has two settings, a low and a high setting. It's the same one that Tac has used in her bell tent. Plus, she has a wood stove that she puts in there, but she used her. When I stayed in it with her last November, it was so windy that it was too risky to use the wood stove, so we didn't have the chimney sticking out of the stove jack. But we had her Mr. Heater, but it would run for probably until the propane ran out, and then it would shut off. And then maybe 2 or 3 hours later, she would get up, put another one in it. But that weekend, we probably went through like 9 of those 1 pound propane bottles. Because it was cold that weekend. But it was still so much fun. But yeah, I got 2 of those little. Of course, I'm keeping that. It will not be in view of certain people when they come into the apartment. Of course, those people don't watch my channel. But I would have a hard time concealing a 20-pound propane tank. Now, 10-pounders I can conceal. Now, keep it on the deck. I can conceal one of those. Plus, it would be easier for me to get into the building if I buy it off site. I go somewhere and buy it. I have my grocery hauler suitcase. I can stick a 10-pound propane tank in that thing and haul it home. And no one's the wiser. Except you all. But a 20-pounder, that is bigger. And they're a lot heavier. They're a lot heavier than their mere 20 pounds, because the empty tank itself is heavy enough. You have to have something very heavy duty to take the pressure that the propane is put under when it's put into there. Well, if I had a bigger kitchen, I could probably pull it off. I've tried doing some things in my kitchen shooting video, but I don't have the room to stand up a tripod. I tried using this foam mount. I literally hung it from a shelf in my cabinet above my countertop. And even that was very unwieldy because, it's not, it's very flexible, so it'll bend pretty, you know, and with this phone being a lot heavier than my Samsung, I really have to mess with it to get it to where I want it to be. Support the weight, but I've had this thing for so long. I mean, it still works, but I really don't have much I can secure it to. But at least the lighting, I would have to probably supplement the lighting because when I'm standing at the counter, my head is blocking some of the light and causing a shadow. Just like if I put my hand here, it's causing a shadow because it's blocking some of the light. And that just messed with the focus when I did that. So I apologize for that, but when I'm standing at my counter, my head is doing the same thing. So I would have to put an additional light somewhere. Either that or use a headlamp. But I also don't have the counter space like I did in the old place. I had a lot bigger kitchen. But I didn't have my own outdoor space, which I do have, and I'm very thankful for that. But anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one good. Gonna finish off my drinks and then clean up my mess. But I do want to thank you all for hanging out with me for this 3.5 hours. Again, thanks to Elsie for dropping a couple of links for people to check out later. And thanks to Art and Nina for dropping that super chat. That's much appreciated. Again, they are in their new digs. They've been there since April, so hopefully soon they'll be able to get some more rations in and get back up to where they used to be with providing us reviewers with more stuff to play with. But anyway, thank you all for coming and hope to see you next week with who knows what. But when I do get something in, I'll drop a mail call vid to show you all what I got. Anyway, thanks for watching and catch you on the flip side.